She watched from a distance. She thought she was the only one left in the office until he appeared out of the dark in his most charming form. Judith was a free spirit who loved to explore. During the day, she was a simple assistant for one of the most exhausting bosses in the world. She worked for a company called Mueller Pharmaceutical, and she only had one career dream: becoming an executive assistant at her company. On one fateful boring morning, she climbed the elevator as usual, joining a host of people. Everyone steps off, leaving her and this complete stranger of a man. She could not help but watch him closely, as he was truly handsome. In her nervousness, she began scratching her neck, but this gentleman politely asked her to stop, as he checked what the problem was. His closeness created an unexpected tension between them, and they could not help but acknowledge it. They got off the same floor, and it turns out his father was the owner of Judith's company, and she shared her condolences for his father's death. Everyone in the office was obsessed over how handsome he was, but he came bearing bad news for Judith. She had made an executive analysis of the company's financials, but Eric was unimpressed, and her boss asked her to do it all over again, with an unrealistic deadline of 24 hours. She froze in time, rethinking her life at that moment. Her boss was leaving for dinner and invited her to the restaurant, but she wasn't done with her work and asked her co-worker. But before she left, Judith inquired once again about her promotion, to which her manager totally dismissed. Judith was depressed, but she finished her work and walked to the parking lot to ride her motorbike home. She could not believe her eyes. Her co-worker was having fun, but instead of leaving, she stayed watching for a while, making her think about what she had seen even after she got home. All she ever did was do diligent work, always being the last to leave the office. One night, as she turned off the lights to leave, she heard an unexpected noise. It turns out it was her boss and her associates once again, this time in the office. And just like before, she hid and watched closely, but she didn't know she wasn't the only one. Eric appeared out of the dark, totally shocking her. He was intrigued by her and wanted to take her out on a date. She initially rejected it, claiming it was against company policy, but Eric convinced her it would be fun. He appeared unannounced at her house the next day, making her uncomfortable, saying she never gave him an address. He apologized and took his leave, but before he was far away, Judith asked him to wait for her downstairs. Judith was impressed by his car, and she took ample time, getting ready to go out for dinner with him. They went to a very interesting restaurant, where Judith saw things she never expected, and they had a wonderful date, as Eric made advances towards her. But she remembered it was her boss, leaving shortly after their kiss. Eric was relentless, reappearing at her house the next day. She told him he could have just texted, but Eric was indifferent to her pleas, showing himself around her house. They spent quality time with her dog, and for the first time in a long time, she seemed pretty happy. Eric took her back to his luxurious apartment, where they tried fun things Eric liked, and they decided to watch the show they had made. But Judith started fuming. She realized they were not the only two people in the room, and packed her things and left. She went to the gym to release all her anger, but she did less boxing and ended up watching the video again, this time with less frustration. As much as she tried to avoid Eric, she seemed to be partially interested in his odd activities, and Eric tried to create more opportunities to spend time with her. He created a business trip for her to go to Barcelona with him, and she vehemently rejected because she knew Eric's plans, creating a shocking facial expression on her boss's face. She went home that day, realizing her cat was sick, and taking her to the doctor. Once again, she was depressed and alone, and Eric visited her when she needed it the most. They spent the night together, with Eric making her breakfast in the morning. Somehow, Eric won his way back into her life, and she wanted to have more fun. She decided to take that trip with Eric to Barcelona after all, as they could not stay away from each other. In an important meeting for the company, Eric asked everyone to leave, as he shared a fun moment with Judith. But somehow, their fun was cut short, as the board members knocked to come back in. They spent more time together that evening, but after a while, Eric exhibited complex emotions, making Judith wonder if she had offended him. Eric completely changed after that night, visiting her hotel and asking her to fly back to the office. She was broken by this, going back home to visit her father for comfort. But shockingly, Eric showed up at her place. She did not want to see him and complained about him showing up and expecting everything to go back to normal. But with his charm, the suit ended up having dinner, as she could not help but smile. Eric asked to go on another expedition with her, as she left her family to spend more time with him. During their car ride, Eric receives an unexpected call from a woman named Bertha, and Judith persistently asks who she was. But Eric did not want to talk about her. He had to finally tell her the truth to appease her. Bertha was his girlfriend who cheated on him with his father. They arrived safely at this new and beautiful home, meeting another couple in the residence, and all they did was continue their fun legacy that they had already started. Judith woke up the next morning looking for Eric, but she was told by his friends that he had left. She tried to call, but he did not pick up, making Judith smash her phone in anger. This was basically their relationship, him going and coming back into her life whenever he wanted. She packed her things and went back home to her normal life, crying incessantly by herself. But she gathered herself back, gaining her strength in the gym and meeting a new friend. She went to the office, sharing conversations with her co-workers, and finally decided to call her dad. Her sadness wasn't totally about Eric. She called her dad to talk about how he deals with her mother's death, and she received some consolation from her dad. And when it seemed like she was learning to love herself and heal, Eric appeared once again. She ignored him as much as she could, but Eric followed until she shut the door on him. Eric made a bold claim, confessing he had never felt this way about anyone in his life. And just like that, he was back in her home. He told her everything was going to be different this time, and it was for a very short period of time. She wanted to reignite the fun she knew Eric liked and return the favor the day she visited his home. But the person who she invited was someone she did not know. It turns out it was the one person Eric hated in all this world, the one woman who completely broke him. And Judith broke too when she finally heard her name. She really believed she made a friend in the gym, but it was all a setup. Judith got tired of this high rise in life. She packed her things and quit her job, which her boss found hilarious, but she rode her motorbike back home, where she found family and peace. Moral of the story: